Okay, people, so decided to talk to y'all today about guns. Obviously, it's America. Guns are a big part of how things get influenced in American politics and everything. Part of it is how it's influenced. Some people just say they just vote for that, but there's other reasons why people vote for different things, not just for the Second Amendment rights and all that protection of that, but it does play a bigger role in things and how things turn out. But looking to say it from a Kudukadian standpoint of view on that, well, guns myself, guns are they were created as weapons of war. You know, obviously they were created as weapons of war, but these weapons of war were used against innocents as well as other people who were engaging in war. So it was really just a way to enforce their will or more. The reason why any weapon was created was for people to enforce their will more greater than the other. That's why they started making weapons and advancing these weapons, so that way they can enforce their will a little bit more greater, and it became a little bit honorable thing within itself, within the people who love to engage in war. So that being said, it's like, all right, now when it comes to American history and where guns really play, yeah, it really started off as the right to bear citizens when it became a rebel against the oppressions that the British government was trying to push over here. Even though America was basically self-regulating itself, and Britain trying to come over and or UK or whatever, England trying to come over and still enforce their way on the American colonies, knowing darn well that they're basically regulating themselves. So why are you even trying to push your jurisdiction over here anymore? But so, but there's a whole bit. It plays in a larger role in history and how it goes into the hands of the individual, in the hands of the people. There's a history there. There's agendas behind it too. There's a bunch of agendas behind it. A bunch of different agendas at play here when it comes to guns in the hands of the people. Yeah, I understand. I'm a Second Amendment guy. I stand with the Second Amendment. People bear weapons. Just so they can even the odds. Even that even applies to combat. People talk about, oh, just no, use your hands. Well, okay, but you have to be taught how to use your hands to go against a skilled fighter. You can't just go against a skilled fighter just throwing punches. They're skilled. They're gonna beat the crap out of you. If you don't know what you're doing with your hands. They know what they're doing with their hands. They've been trained, so they have an advantage over you. That's how it is with guns. If you had one group of people have it, they have an advantage over you to enforce their ways of life onto you. And that's where you want to use it. So that's where I stand on that personally, as well as Kudakadian. When I spread Kudakadian values, this is what I spread. They have an advantage over you if you let them have it. They're going to use it regardless whether you want them to, you feel like they shouldn't, it's immoral, whatever. They're going to use it because there are people out there who are strictly just about imposing their will on others. They're just strictly about that. My will shall reign over yours. I don't care what anybody has to say. And they will use this tool of war to do that. To do that. That being said, now as when it comes into the history of the United States, the history is it really started off, like I said, start off with the whole England thing, but then when in the individual's hands, there were agendas at play. A lot of people don't know that there are major agendas at play. So one of those agendas, sorry to say, but race comes into play with it. Race is one of the agendas that comes into play. When America was fully on this whitest right agenda, they wanted to use but they was realizing some hypocrisies that slavery was playing with their little belief system and perpetuating being rulers of the free world. Yeah, you're not rulers of a free world if you got slaves. So yeah, kind of play a big larger role there. But as they started releasing black communities and leaving them to fend for themselves wherever, because they weren't really trying to listen, even though they wanted to free this, they were okay with freeing the slaves, and also so it there was another agenda to play there too. the North was trying to exercise more control over the South, but the South was able to be able to compete against the North's economy with slavery. So, because they didn't have to pay for labor, because they had the blacks doing the labor, but you had rebellions going on and blacks running into the North, which they did not like. So they it was strictly that. Yeah, they wanted. That's where it came about gender play. They wanted to free the black slaves, let them be free, so that way the South can lose the control, lose benefit in the economy, which they kind of were anyway, since like capitalism played a large role in changing the course of how that really plays out. They were kind of losing their control, which they were still trying to sell cash crops and all that, which wasn't really helping, like cotton and all that. It wasn't really helping. They were losing out because England was kind of, they already had they were selling other countries, but these countries already had like an abundance of that already, and hello, countries started producing their own stuff after a while. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, we're gonna produce our own crap, so so that way we don't have to keep buying. That's how it was. Yeah, that's how other factors in later today's government played in with China and all that. But we're not about to get into that. We're getting to where guns play. All right, in the U.S. So basically, they want black communities. They started freeing the black slaves, but it was, even though it was a free black slaves, it wasn't really still allowing black people to have any rights in the American government. It's really strictly just freeing them, letting them be slaves. But of course, they already live here, so it's like, okay, let them develop their own communities in these sections. Separate from the white people, develop your communities in these sections, and just stay away. Stay away. Basically, it was going to let the black people fend for themselves and just. But that left them vulnerable to attacks and all that from other white communities who didn't like them. And a lot of these white communities, they would use guns and all that to go against them, perpetuate all that, saying because they didn't really like the fact that slaves were not, that was mainly more towards the South. In the North, they just hated black people. They didn't really like them. They didn't want them around. You know what I'm saying? They wanted them gone. So in the South, they wanted black people to be slaves again. In the North, they wanted them gone. So black communities in the North, they got attacked. They used these guns to attack these communities, and you perpetuated all propagandas against them and all that, saying, they want to rape our kids, or white, they want to rape our women, and they want to touch our, stuff like that. That crap is hard to talk about. These racism craps when the race shit without it like causing my brain to have a seizure because it was so stupid. But it was propaganda. People would fall for it. Propaganda was a big play in American politics, which they don't like to say a lot, but propaganda was used by my American politicians and all that. It was often used, especially during elections. So when we see all these stuff on elections about propaganda and all that, it's not really new. They was already kind of doing that. They was already with slandering the other person, but it's mostly they tried to keep things formal as possible, but slandering the other opponent was the norm. It's kind of the norm now. But now it played that the white we were using these guns to attack the black communities. Okay, but then black people started taking guns, getting weapons themselves, and fighting back, and then laws got created on gun regulation. So that there was some, well, not for all areas, but definitely, that's where it started. Black people started going at it, started getting them guns, and it wasn't just the black people at first. It was also the natives. One time they were using guns against them too. So this is where like ATF, things like the organizations like ATF started getting created and all that to create regulations on guns, so that way a certain specific group wouldn't have it. So this is where we start seeing agendas getting into play and all that. Okay, so they couldn't really apply just black people because they were able to apply just black people sort of, but it didn't really work out in the politics or debates and all that. So that's why they had to kind of apply it to everybody instead of just black people. So, because they didn't really want black people, like movements like Move and all that, they were getting guns, and Black Panthers, they were getting guns and really going at it with the white groups. But and that's what they wanted to be like. Oh, we need the regulations on this, so now everybody can get guns and all that, especially so we don't really have. Of course, you use other things like, oh, don't want wars on your streets, just random wars. People get shot by stray bullets and all that. So that's where it started getting to like how that's one agenda that played into that, just so black people wouldn't have it. But then they start applying it to everybody because you can't just try to make it seem like America's clean of discrimination when it's really not. So then that's one. There's others. Now we're shifting into a little bit more dynamic. Okay, so not only that, communists started coming, other opposition started coming in, like communists and all that. They really didn't want these groups to have guns, so they created more restrictions on guns. Because communists started coming about, started up revolutions and all that. People were allowed to have guns, and you don't want communism was spreading in the United States. People don't want to say that, but that's why we have a communist party and all that, because communism ideals were spreading in the U.S. and you definitely don't. Now, communists believed in revolution, class war, so that's where definitely gun laws got applied to everybody. Saying. So regulations really wanted to cut down on it because everybody is allowed to exercise this good American right, which can overturn the government and cause an agenda that we don't want to accept over here. So that's one way that played in a role to it. So then shifting back to the black communities a little bit. Okay, so like all right, now a lot of things with the black community being free and allowed to prosper, they did really. Black people started kind of getting rights as time went on because they had to start fighting for rights to get into and vote for government. Because if they try to go against white people, law going to come after them because they're our citizens. But okay, these black people were here. You brought us here. We contribute to America, so we deserve some of the same rights. So okay, as black people started getting more rights, they kind of still wasn't okay with black people yet. So they started pushing a lot of things into black communities, like drugs. Drugs was a big one being pushed into black communities because they destabilize us as a people to make us be unaccepted and looked at as the rejects of society in America. But not just drugs. It was also eventually, yeah, drugs was a play, but then they also started pushing the guns too, allowing us to have more gun rights because they realize that okay, you push us, you destabilize our mentality. Not only you destabilize our mentality with the drugs, but then you also take it. You also give us guns, so that way we can kill each other. So that way we'll just off each other off. But as you can see, it didn't work. We're still here. Some black people are still here, still, kicking through, pushing past the violence now, and all that. So we push past the drug epidemic. I mean, still got some who fall a little bit on it, but not as much as it used to be. And we got black people pushing past the drug epidemic now, as well as pushing past the killing each other, because we were taking guns, starting gang uprisings, and just we're still kind of doing that now. It's still happening now in the black communities, but that's the thing. But it's not just us now. It's some other racial members as well getting involved into this lifestyle where okay, you don't want this certain group of people succeeding in gaining enough power and influence to overturn things in your own country. So you want to you want to allow drugs and gun rights. You want to allow them to have guns so that way they kill each other off, destabilize them and kill each other off. But it wasn't really just about that anymore. It was for one group, it was about that. You don't want these group expanding and gaining power and changing the course of governments from the type of politics that you prefer. There was that other group in a position of power and influence who wanted to utilize this as a way to show why the American people need the government. See, if the people are too independent, too self-reliant, self-sufficient, they won't need their rulers anymore. So how do you turn that over and make people need their rulers? You got to destabilize them. Put them so this is where we get into that post-Nietzscheism type of reality being actually put into practice. So, okay, religion's not a big thing here no more. We can't just convince people like, oh, we have to follow a higher probably, people are starting to use being a little bit more down to earth and all that. Like, oh, you kind of just made stuff up, didn't you? You know what I'm saying? Now they had to figure out new ways to convince the populace, and what better way to convince the populace of rulers than to make them destabilize and to use their freedoms, allow them to abuse their freedoms, destabilize themselves, and look for guidance, and lose all hope in guidance, and lose all hope in reality, any motivation to do nothing, and start and get them seeking guidance, seeking security, seeking help. That was the other side of the politics. So we have these two big parties at play. They've been around for the longest. They've been in charge for the longest. It's these two big parties at play. And both are utilizing the guns and the drugs as a way to push agendas. Don't believe me? There was an article. Well, it wasn't even an article at first. It was on the news when I was working at UPS, sitting one day watching the news. It was reported about how there was a camp used to train people. Used to train not just people, kids, emotionally unstable kids. Used to train them somewhere, I think, in the New Mexico borders, along with Mexico and New Mexico. They were training these kids to shoot up schools. Kid you not. It was FBI investigations conducted on it, and that's what they said. These kids were being trained to go shoot up schools. That's exactly what they were being trained for. There's an agenda going on, people. I'm just saying. You have multiple cases of emotionally unstable kids randomly somehow getting the idea to weaponize their emotions or their mentality and shoot up a school. There's something going on there. It's for that to be happening. And the case is always the same, where it was some emotionally unstable person that decided to weaponize what was going on in their head and shoot up a school. Like, let me tell you something. In America, we perpetuate often that the kids are the future. They are our future. So what that means is everybody has this idea that the kids are the future. But what kind of future do you want them to create? Now, this is where the agendas get into play. Certain school, schools in America teach different things. And there's reasons why we have private schools, specifically religious private schools too. Because religious private schools didn't trust public schooling, because public schooling was teaching things that they didn't want their kids to learn, like evolution, other stuff, and now obviously LGBT community stuff and all that. Now that's all getting taught in school, and obviously the religious right doesn't like that. So running my 20-minute limit, but so now this is why we got different separations of schools. But mainly, only thing schools was intact was public schools. Obviously, there was an agenda going on there. They don't want, public schools, the missions of the public schools coming out. But then A religious school got attacked by a transgendered person. Yeah. There's a change of genders. Now, okay, you're gonna attack the schools with our kids who we're trying to condition to believe in this and practice, believe that government is the right way. You must believe in your government, and because without government, society would be unstable. Y'all don't know how to handle yourselves. Y'all never create any rules. Y'all just be over there just killing each other like you're doing now. You know what I'm saying? You need us. So you're trying to stop this agenda because you want them to follow your agenda. Yeah, you need to believe in God. White is right. White is right. Honestly, because that was the American politics. What you need to believe in God. White is right, and nationalism. You know what I'm saying? But so conservatism, far right conservatism in America is very religious as well as racial and everything because white people took over the country. It was all about England superiority, which now became American white superiority. So American white. So that's how they kind of brand their politics off of that as well. They wanted black people to be destabilized and just kill each other, which we're not. We're still overcoming that and still pushing forward, despite how sometimes we just want to off each other. Some stuff we're still pushing forward and trying and creating families and generating wealth that we weren't allowed to have access to for years, and now we're getting to that wealth, which so it's a whole agenda at play. It's a lot of agendas at play here when it comes to the guns. It's all right. One wants to utilize the guns, be like take them up, but like not only that, they want to utilize that. Oh, you need us. We need to move these guns off the street. You know what I'm saying? So one is like it's a whole agenda. I hate to sound like a conspiracy theorist, but where they call false flag things, but like it's it's not really false flag. This is part of what they want. This is part of the agenda. They want these people to attack these schools because they don't want certain groups to get up, and they want to use this as a means to be like, all right, let's have citizens, remove power. Let's remove power from the citizens to overturn things, because this is how it's played. Like I said, remember, you don't want a certain group branding their ideals and getting power and influence, overturning things and getting power and influence over the actual government. So they have to suppress that. They have to teach you why. Oh, this is bad. You shouldn't want this because look what it's doing. It's destabilizing the community. Look, you're all stressed out. You want to kill each other. You need the government to come in. Only government needs to have these weapons so we can regulate y'all. But no, it's a sign of control. And even the other one, it's another sign of control. They just want you to destabilize yourselves so that way y'all kill each other. Oh, but you can't. But they realize that's not working, so they're just gonna go back like, okay, well, they're delinquents. We need to increase security. You know what I'm saying? It's increase security. Maybe. So it's like some you want to go back to militias, but like it's a whole range of agenda played around the guns. It's a bigger thing around the guns than y'all think. It's not just about the guns, people. It's about how they're utilizing the situations with the guns and how to manipulate the people and how they are playing a part in funding and spreading these guns out to control the masses by it's a big agenda. It's hard. It's hard to really explain it because it plays a whole big role in how they want things to turn out. And I'm not an inside guy. I just see it. And I can clearly see the pattern that, okay, this group wants to get rid of guns because they want to exercise more control in their government. This allows the government to establish a tyrannical state so that way they can control the populace completely and absolutely. The other one just wants to let the guns be free because they want people to just randomly kill each other, but they also want to give the police more power, more funding, so that way they can better exercise security over the people. And not to mention, let's mention one thing about the police in America. A lot of the old KKK members were FBI recorded that they were joining the police force. They were joining the police force because they realized they can better enforce their ideals as a police officer and get away with it than as a regular individual citizen. So it's crazy, but it's real. All this is actually happening for real. And I've way past my mark, but definitely look all into the people. It's a whole bigger agenda. This is how guns play a part in U.S. politics. As you know, one wants control, one wants y'all to destabilize and exercise control, and it's like it's multiple different groups. But all politics, both the Republicans and the Democrats are in on it. They're in on it. They are funding this crap. They are utilizing it. It's nothing new to the American government either. The American government has been guilty of doing this. Mainly, we see it. We think they only did it in other countries, but no, they're doing it here too, and they've been doing it. And they've been doing it for a long time, and this is how they operate. So, I don't know. Hopefully, y'all overcome it eventually. Hopefully, y'all understand and see it. But I understand you use guns in a way where it's not just about, you understand that this is a weapon, and you use it as a means of defense from those who want to impose their will on you. Okay, don't go over imposing your will. If you're imposing your will on people, you're insecure. I'll have a whole talk about that. But like, you're insecure. It means you don't really truly believe in your stuff yourself. And you have to look into that. That is an actual insecurity. So, but use it as a means to defend yourself against those who's willing to impose their will. That is what you want these weapons for. To give yourself the means to fight back. Give yourself the means. Just like you'll do martial arts so you can battle against people who knows martial arts and want to impose their will on you. Because just because everybody who practices martial arts doesn't mean they're stable-minded. There's people who get full of themselves just because they're into martial arts, and they'll use that martial arts to beat the crap out of you. They don't care. You know what I'm saying? They don't care. So that's why other people must know martial arts to battle against those people effectively. But it's the same with the guns. Just people want to impose their will on you. You need to defend yourself. And how it plays into American politics, there's these big people in charge at play who are trying to keep things destabilized. So that way they can perpetuate propaganda. And the propaganda on why guns are bad or why guns are good to defend yourself against these unstable-minded people, Oh, but also, we want to defend ourselves from these unstable-minded people because we don't want them here. We want them gone, Come on, we all know who the unstable-minded people are. It's bad. It's a big deal. It's hard to see if America will ever come out of this. It's hard to see, but I guess hopefully we stand long enough to keep trying. So, wish America great prosperity, if it ever can reach the prosperity beyond this manipulating the people and all that. May not. Yeah, they know mental health, but they utilize mental health as a way to manipulate. So I don't know. I wish y'all the best of luck, America. I do really do. I hope we overcome this. We start actually working as a unit for a change. Stop looking at the race. Stop, okay, America is not about the race. It's about the culture. It's about the opportunity, free market, you know what I'm saying? To expand ourselves, you know what I'm saying? Expand, remove this oppression where people want to oppress the people. No, we're all American. We are all born here now. Well, most of us is all born here. We're born here. I mean, Yeah, immigrants coming here too, but if they want to contribute, then I don't see the big issue. But goal is we want to help America. We want to get America to the future, expanding, or even if it evolves into something else. But we're not going to be able to do that if we keep falling for the manipulation that they're trying to give us, that the government's trying to give us, especially the big party system that they're trying to give us. So, wish you luck, America. I know we got an election coming up. I don't support none of them. Sorry to say. None of them are telling the truth. Well, none of them are being completely honest about anything. None of, like, Kamala, she doesn't have any financial plan whatsoever. I've heard her plans. They suck. I'm sorry. They suck. They really suck. They're not going to help. Trump, no better, obviously. But obviously, I don't see the benefit of Kamala's plans either. It's just how you're planning on helping us, how and what? Paying their fair share, okay, well, yeah, you say that, but like they fund your campaign because they know you're gonna pass certain laws that benefits their corporation. So it's like it's ridiculous. So corporations have their pockets, or have their money in the American politics. So that's nothing new. That's unfortunately in a monetary system with a democracy. That's kind of part of this. That's how the democracy plays with who have the most money. That's kind of the system we perpetuated here. So corporations will have their hands in both parties, no matter what. There's corporations on this government side, on this party side, and there's corporations on that government side. They just want the upper hand and whatever they want to do. So just make sure they get unaffected. But really worried for you, America. Really worried for you. Both these politicians really don't mean y'all any well. I don't know how much I can stress that. People keep saying economy is better under Trump. No, necessarily wasn't. He did few things. Y'all make it seem like he did very few things. He didn't even do much. This is stuff that's been done before, too. You act like he did something new. He didn't do nothing new. This was stuff that was being done by the Republican Party. He did stuff that the Republican Party did. Just one party was like, when the other party got in charge, he was like, stop that. We're going to do this. They've been cycling the same policies over and over. Y'all just really don't see it. Just trying to adapt them with the times. That's it, to make it seem like it's something different. But it's nothing different. It's the same policies. Raise tariffs. That's not a new Republican policy, y'all. That's been a Republican policy. Raising tariffs has been a Republican policy for forever. On top of that, besides for the pumping oil from the South, okay, it just made less reliance on shipment from the South. It's not like we wasn't really using our own oil. We was using oil and oil from overseas. So we was using both. But I guess we start relying more on ourselves now that we got fracking. But fracking technology started progressing in 2011. That was before Trump was even in office. So we're able to frack and import stuff from the South. We're causing earthquakes, but you can just put that stuff back together. Hello, micro earthquakes collapsing crap in the cities. Hey, that's just the American economy at work there. It's creating jobs. Bam. Create something for people to fix. Bam. Money. Bam. Jobs. It's a very self-recycling system. All right. I gotta end the video here. Yeah, I will.